All right, so welcome everyone to the second Analyst AMA. We're going to be doing these more often. Um,
Yeah,
but anyway, this is the first one that will be recorded. Pierre's microphone is a little bit quiet. I did the best that I can. Hopefully, it comes out okay in the recording. Again, this is going to be the first recording that we're doing of this, so if there's any mistakes or the video doesn't look good, it will be corrected for the future AMA sessions. But welcome to all the new members of the Haven. Um, we had a really great month last month. We're happy to see all the new members. Hopefully, you guys learn a lot. Just go through all those education channels, ask questions, post charts, get your feedback, and it should be another great month. Is there anything else I had to say? I don't think so. But if anyone's watching the recording here, you'll see I have a chart on the left and the AMA chat on the right. If any of you guys are listening live, I'm not going to be switching my chat from the Analyst AMA chat. So if you notice any other member is asking questions in some other chat channel, just direct them to the Analyst AMA channel so we can get their questions down.
yeah.
And I think we're good to go. We had some chart requests, which I just want to answer just the trading related questions first so we can kind of just talk a little bit back
Yeah,
and
I
forth.
I agree with that. Main goal of today remains to be like some sort of a welcoming MA for the new members.
Yeah.
Uh, but we'll discuss charts after that. I've seen quite a few charts asked. That's no problem. And yeah, main goal is to do this type of streams more often in the coming weeks.
Yep.
Even if it's not all the analysts available, like the one I did last week with Bagzi, for example. And my goal is to do that at least one per week.
Yep. I agree with that. And then actually, one other thing I forgot to mention is there's some stuff going on where I am. I may just flat out ignore if another analyst is talking to me. That's just because I had to get up and do something. So just keep that in mind. So I apologize in advance if there's any awkward dead silence or anything. But anyway, if you guys have any questions related to trading, anything you want to ask us, put them in the Analyst AMA section now, and we'll get through them one by one. The first question I wanted to address here is our new member is asking that they want to fully understand Pierre's and Krillin's compounding strategies more in depth.
Yeah.
Not sure if their method is the same, but how do you guys approach compounding a winning position?
I can start if you want, Krillin. Personally, um, I use very simple strategies when it comes to compounding. I was discussing that in the previous MA. I basically just stick to my trading plan, meaning that I will most likely look to compound on swing trades rather than scalps or things like this because uh, I'm planning to stay in the trade for a longer period of time. I basically just map the trade out with all the important levels on higher time frames. Um, like for example, um, Zcash, Zcash, that was a good example. If right now one of the biggest level I was highlighting was the previous high from February 2020, we just broke this level. This is a place where I was looking to take profit and why I took profits. If we retest it and it holds, it means that what I was considering as being a resistance has been now flipped as support, and I will most likely try to re-enter profits I took because it gives a good validation. So I would say that my compounding strategy is very simple. I relies on high time frame horizontal level mainly, and I wait for clear resistance to support flip. If I manage to catch this one and compound, that's very good. But if, for example, I took some profits and the coin just keep running away from what I would have loved to have as a re-entry, then so be it. I took profit and I won't be able to compound as ideally as I wanted to do. But yeah, so I would say just I'm very simple in that way. I'm only using a horizontal level and then I map out my trades um, before entering. If the question is more in terms of price discovery, or do you compound in price discovery? Personally, I know that Krillin is going to answer this one much better than me because he's a better Fibonacci trader. But I would say that whenever I can enter in price discovery, I usually try not to take profits manually, and I trail my stops. So I'm not very much into the compounding when a coin enter price discovery, unless it gave time to build some sort of price history, and that we could rely on this one. But yeah, so yeah, very simple for me. I don't know if you want to answer, Krillin.
Yeah, so well, the overall strategy for me is the same one, except that I will, well, let's say more often use moving averages, flips rather than horizontal levels. It really depends also on what time frame you want to be compounding. If you know this is going to be a long swing trade, probably you want to be using different layers of long moving averages. So this is what Pierre and I have been explaining in our education channels. Every time we have a moving average bullish structure, we typically have um, 3, 4, 5 moving averages in a very specific order. So typically you have the 4H EMEA 200. Once you flip this one, this is the first trigger. So you entering a trade on the retest of that 4H moving 4H EMEA 200 is really good. But then usually the next resistance is going to be daily MA 100, and then usually it's MA 200 or EMEA 200. And finally, this is what usually gives the final parabolic leg. That's MA 300. I think a very good example of that would be our Mithril trade that was open in June. I don't know if I can share my screen. Probably not. I don't know if you want to start using moving averages on your chart.
If you just want to post the chart link in the Analyst AMA, so everyone can get a visual and click on the link or something.
Because I know in the recording you have that chart on the left, so we might put that to use, right?
Yeah, send the
so that everyone, and especially the new members who might not have a chance to see all this moving average strategy because there's a join just this week, they will have a live example of it.
Yeah, what you could do is post the chart link so then I can open it on the video and then everyone in the chat can see it in real time.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine. Let me do that. Just hold on a second. Let me open my chart. It has turned very ugly after the last BTC push.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It took a hit. Let's be honest. But yeah, for me that's
Let me just set up my moving
you're right,
averages correctly.
It's very good. It's a very good example because it's perfectly the type of move we see when we have a first impulse. Like it wasn't, in my opinion, 100% in terms of moving averages. What not 100% ready. Like there are still many gaps to fill, but it was still definitely the first impulse to something that could be bigger, in my opinion. But yeah, let
All
me
right.
share
Let me
the
send
chart.
you the link. All right. So I sent you the link, Yubi.
Yeah, maybe just publish it in the Analyst AMA.
Yep.
If you can. So yeah. Oh, perfect.
All right, it's open for the video.
All right. So yeah. So I can tell you which moving average is what. So the full line, the plain line, that's blue. This is 4H EMEA 200. So you can see that from, let's say, middle of March, it was very clear resistance all the way. So we had several touches, one at the beginning of April, one on April 13th, another one end of April, another one middle of May. Then it was broken.
Clean.
And then it was retested, let's say, it looks around June the 1st.
Yeah.
We had a clear bounce. And then when it was retesting this 4H EMEA 200, we can see this purple dotted lines. That's the daily MA 100. And so it retested both moving averages. So these are typically the two moving averages I use the most for entering trades. So I had both moving averages at one single point. So that was the perfect entry, and that's where we entered with the group. From that point, middle of June, it bounced straight to the thin black moving average. This is moving average 200. And you can see again that we had a perfect rejection. It was tested again later in June.
Yeah.
And then it kept retracing, and guess where it stopped? For HEMEA 200. So this is why I told people in the group, well, it also happened to be our first target. So that would be a good entry point to add to your position, especially if you had taken profit on the black line around June 15th, right? And so
compression.
Yep. And then the price kept consolidating. Look how clean this is. Like, price is consolidating perfectly between MA 200 and 4H EMA 200. And then same thing, the price breaks out. So that was like first week of July. It didn't quite reach EMEA 200, which is the thick red full line, which is normally what happens, but well, not every single setup can be textbook. And once again, it retraced almost down, just like yes, Pierre.
That's the 300 MA, right? 300.
Which one?
The pink one, the red one.
The red one is EMEA 200.
Oh yeah, EMEA.
Daily EMEA.
Yeah.
And so just like after the first breakout where we entered exactly at the retest intersection of 4H EMEA 200 and MA 100 here. Well, it was front run by like one sat, but it was almost a perfect retest where EMEA 200 and 4H EMEA 200 and daily MA 200 are intersecting. You see this blue and black line above July 13th. And then that's where we had the next leg. So the next leg, the retest was pretty fast, but you can see that around June 20th, we broke both MA 300, so that's the pink dotted line, and the thick red EMEA. We broke both, and then we had a perfect retest, that red candle in sandwich. It retested perfectly the daily EMEA 200. So this is also a place that was shared in the group. One of our members was like really concerned about compounding on this one, and so we recommended the members to even add to their position. I know it's pretty crazy because we were already up like 80% on this setup, and yet we still decided to add. And then right after this retest, we had the final leg where that gave us almost 200% on this trade to 150 sats. Well, it looked really, really good for more upside after, let's say, flipping our original target at 116 sats. But then, well, BTC pumped and just destroyed it. So, well, that's how it ended. But overall, we hit our last target for 127%, and we were able to apply the exact method that we have been teaching you guys in the education content. All right, so that's for compounding.
It's a very interesting one, to be honest, because I don't know if when this type of moves happen and we have this type of moving average structure, like we can definitely see that most of the majors moving average, like in your chart, it's 100, 200, 300 or something like this, I believe. They are all converging to one value, but it's not very tight yet. So the previous trend might not have completely reset. But
Right.
this is very often what I've seen, at least from my little experience. The first impulse above most of moving averages, and very often the coin tends to get denied by a Bitcoin move.
Yes.
And what comes now is very important for MIF, because if it gets here, if it keeps consolidating while all the moving averages are curving up and all gathering at the same place, this one could pull like a real big move.
Yes, we will
I shared
have.
I shared Zilliqa as an example in the chat. It had exactly the
Yeah,
same
that's a
type
good
of
example. Yes.
it has exactly the same structure as you can see on moving averages, and it would be pretty much, and it's actually also a very good example of compounding and using horizontal levels. Um, but yeah, I definitely want to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks, 2 months, in my opinion.
Yeah, and maybe I'll give another example. So I was saying when I introduced myth, it was because I was saying if you're planning, let's say, a month-long swing trade with um, like many steps before you get the big leg, you want to be using the longer moving averages. But let's say if you expect a coin to be very strongly trending, then this is a good case for using shorter EMEAs. So in this case, my favorite, and that's what I've been sharing with the group as well, it would be 13 daily 13 EMEA. I'm going to share a chart. I'm going to share a few ones actually because
Yeah,
that's a common one. Well, ZIL is a really good example. Though we don't, so very often we don't get the touches and it bounces slightly before, but you can get the idea. And I'm going to show you BNT because that's another example of really strongly trending coin, and daily EMEA certainly is working really beautifully in this one.
13 and 25 on lower time frames are the one that I find the most impressive.
Like BNT,
It's
it's
insane.
perfect. It's capturing like 700 more. It's capturing like 900%. And all you had to do was sell every big candle and buy back on daily EMEA 13. Let me share that chart. This is the cheat code,
The
like
Krillin
absolute
algorithm.
cheat code. Look at this one. Look at this chart. It's just
Yeah, it's absurd. It's completely
it's
insane.
ridiculous because if you get early, all you have to do you sell whatever pump, you re-enter on the green one, on the green line, and that's all you have to do. You don't even need to think. You just apply this stupidly, and so this pumped what 900, almost 900% in 2 months. But if you've been compounding on this one, well, unfortunately I didn't, but if you've been compounding on this one, if it goes plus 900%, you can probably pull something like an X20 or X25 in a matter of 2 months. So that's
Yeah.
pretty insane. And once you've got that and you keep that EMEA on your chart, you just keep in mind that most very strongly coins will follow this. So this is a really good way to compound as well. But that will only work with strongly trending coins because that's a short EMEA.
Yes, that's a short time frame EMEA. That's quite
Okay, and
that's quite similar. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, and finally, there was Pierre mentioned using Fibonacci levels
Yeah.
because sometimes if it's a coin in price discovery, you do not have any history on resistance, so it's difficult to be using resistance former SR levels to compound. So I'm going to show you RSR because that's a really textbook entry. I entered. let me draw a few things on the chart. You understand better. All right. So I'm sharing these two. Oh, okay. So I see you guys have a question. Is certain EMEA always on the daily or other time frames? Well, let's say for Binance swings, I really like to use it on the daily. However, for some coins, it might work on shorter time frames. So typically, well, the thing is, not every coin will react to the same EMEAs. So what you can do, and what I typically do, is I have around 7, 8 moving averages, and then I just try them on most time frames. So that's typically 4H, 12H, 1 day, 2 days, 3 day, and I see which one is relevant for the coin I'm trading. So most of the time, it's going to work really, really well on the daily chart. Some coins react well to it on the 4H chart. Yeah, so Chiro is saying he sold RSR at 1.61H fib extension. So he'll probably recognize the chart I'm posting now. So if you all take a look at this RSR chart, the way I laid the Fibonacci level was simple. I was looking for an entry back then in May. So what I did is I was looking for the famous golden pocket, the 0618 retracement level. So typically you obtain that by setting the level 1 on. Oh, and yes, as you guys are saying in the chat, that's another really good example for EMEA 13. That's right. You can see that green line, but that's not what I wanted to show you guys. So in order to get my retracement level, I set my fib number 1 level at the previous swing low. So that's pretty much the bottom at around 19 sats. I set my 0 level at the previous swing high. So that was at the end of February, around 58 sats. And that gives you all the levels in between. So typically what you want to be looking at is an entry at the 0618 level. If you take a look at all the other levels, whether it is 382, 05, 786, they were all very relevant on this chart. But I decided to enter 0618 in May. And then my first target, that was the minus 0618, which is the same as 1618, if you reverse your Fibonacci level. So I'm pretty sure that's what Chiro in the chat was referring to when he said sold at 1618. So that's the one at a little bit above 80 sats. And then, so you can see, like second half of June, it reached this gray level at minus 0618, a little bit above 80 sats. And obviously the perfect re-entry was back to my 0 level. Yeah. It's crazy how perfect it is. It's like pixel perfect on the chart.
Especially,
and of course we had
your coins are getting market make it so hard sometimes that it's just so beautiful.
It's really clean, and of course we had the perfect confluence with the green line. So we had this re-entry like really easy at 58, 59 sats last week of June, and then it went straight to pump to what we usually call well, that's the really alpha thing. So you got to keep this here, but that's what we call the market maker. The market maker target. So that's typically between 2414 and 2618. And that's when I told people to take profit on RSR middle of July. So we nailed the exact top.
For,
So
for
that
the
was like
record,
what?
for the record,
That was like almost 350% x 4.5.
yeah.
That was beautiful.
And for the record, whether we get the 2.4/2.1, this is and why we call that the market maker alpha. It's because this is the level we realized was almost always targeted by Matic. Back then, I don't know if you remember, during the first run from Matic in May last year, every time he had a pump, every time he had another leg, it was always aiming for this golden area. Every time. This is personally how I discovered that.
Yeah, and then what was interesting, and I did okay, but I kind of FOMO backed in. Was that if I decide to apply my fib levels again for re-entry, I'm gonna take the last swing low, which was my entry in May at 30 sats. So that's why you see there's a second Fibonacci, second set of Fibonacci levels on the right side of the chart. So same method again. I set my number one at the last swing low. So that was my entry in March at like 28 sats. I set my zero at the last swing high. So that was the perfect top. And then I'm looking at the 0618 level. And again, you see that's perfectly where RSR bounced. I missed my entry there. I had to FOMO back in a little higher, so that was not great. And as I was only half my bags, I was planning to fill a lot more. Pretty big mistake. Plus, people I even asked in the group where would be a good entry for RSR, and I did mention this fib level. Well, little execution mistake. I can't be perfect all the time, but okay, that's it for Fibonacci. So again, you can use Fibonacci levels to compound, and you can keep reusing the same method indefinitely. Every time you have a swing high, a swing low, you look for the 0618 level, and that's typically where the price is going to bounce. So that's where you want to re-enter for compounding.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Wow.
so that's pretty much it. I think we already spent half an hour on compounding, but I think that was good.
I think that's going to be some really major educational stuff for some new members or even, old members of the group. That's really all extremely beneficial stuff. So that was really good. And then a next question that I wanted to segue from that one is what is the best what's the most profitable trading method right now, I believe the question was.
Yeah, I
What
saw
strategies do you
was
feel are
about,
most profitable right now? So that question
Yeah.
has a few different answers, and I'll start here because I am not primarily an EMA trader like Krillin and Pierre. Obviously, they're very good with EMAs, but I would consider myself a trading range trader, and there's really no secret method for what strategy is more profitable, what's easier, anything like that. My answer to that question is just let's see here. How can I word this? Just figure out, what indicators you feel comfortable with, what trading strategy you feel comfortable with, and then learn absolutely everything you can, the inside and out of that indicator, whatever it is. And it doesn't necessarily matter what indicator you're using.
Might have lost UB.
Okay, and then the second part or the first part to that question, I don't know who lost audio there, but I'll continue talking. The other part of that question, the most profitable strategy, the question is, I remember Loma or Pierre talking earlier in the year how the leader-laggard relationship between coins was the most profitable strategy of the year. Do you guys have any advice on how to identify those relationships outside of the really obvious ones like IEOs, privacy, etc.? I'd love to know which coins use the same market makers and stuff like that. That's a really great question. I'll let Pierre
That's a good
start.
question. And it's very true. At the beginning of the year, we saw so many coins starting to pump together. Like we pretty much had all the, exactly, Atom, Tezos, Argo. We had the Alliance. We had the Classic Link Tezos. We had privacy. We had the fake Bitcoins. We pretty much had all of them, and obviously DeFi. Um, I would say that obviously one that comes from experience trading crypto. I remember Loma saying one day that someone asked Loma what book they should read to master trading crypto and things like this, and he had a very good answer. He was saying that obviously you can read many books about the 101 of trading, and it can only help, obviously. But he was saying something really true, that there are some things that are proper to trading crypto. It's like you can only know that if you've been there long enough. And trading coin relationships, I would call it that way, is one of the things you learn by being there long enough. But let's take let's take another example that is not one that we saw many times, but this is one I actually discussed during the last couple of days. Like I saw last week that Acro was going insane, Acropolis on UOB. And Acropolis is a DeFi Polkadot shitcoin, one of the few that many people know. And obviously, I was looking for coins that can be on big exchanges that are part of the Polkadot ecosystem and that are supposed to do the DeFi too. And this is how I came up with OAX that I shared last week, this one. And I remember saying, keep an eye on OAX because Polkadot shitcoins are moving. And yeah, it's been pumping ×2 since then. So yeah, one way to identify these trends, I would say, is first shitcoins that are sharing very similar charts, all the 2017, 2018 shitcoins. The one that are historically been moving together, the Alliance one. And then you can find, exactly, Alliance interoperability, one ICX Ion. They almost always move together. You have the Chinese shitcoins, ONT, Neo, exactly, Bagzi. So yeah, I think that comes with experience. And the funniest part of that is that yes, these coins tend to move together because they are historically moving together, but they also have most of the time almost identical charts. Like earlier at the beginning of the year, when the privacy coins had their first impulse with Dash, with the Zcash and things like this, they all had the same structure. It was all a first break of 200 EMEA and things like this. So that's why back then we were saying that it was one of the most profitable strategy, because it was one, very easy to pick. Like if one day you saw XTZ, if you saw Dash pumping one day, you could basically market buy Zcash, and the day after you wake up with plus 10%. It doesn't happen a lot, but it repeats a lot. Like interoperability coins will have all their move all together, maybe 1 or 2 times per year. But then you can move to the other trends, and you can move to the other trend to trade the narratives, basically. So yeah, I think I quite answered the question. So yeah, experience, I would say.
That was perfect. Yep, I would 100% agree with that. I couldn't answer that any better, so there's the answer to that one. And here's a really great question that I definitely don't want to go past. But the question is, the bull market, there have been many false dawns. How do we know when we are really there, and how do we take advantage? Will you be recommending leverage on the majors? Pierre, you can start that off if you want.
That's a very good question. If I can just answer very quickly, like very quickly for me, it's one of the main reason I use moving averages are for this exact reason, because I tend to believe that the core definition of a moving average is supposed to give an indication about how is the trend going, and therefore it can help to understand if the previous trend is done and if a new one can come up. The new one can be a downtrend, it can be an uptrend, it can be a continuation, it can be a reversal, but at least it's supposed to give you at least an idea of a trend that has reset and if pumps are going to be sustainable. I'm gonna take a quick example with Zcash. That is a trade that we have since June. On the chart I shared in the chat, we can see on the left, this is what I call gaps. The gaps are the space between all the big moving averages. When you see that and you understand what moving averages are, you can understand that it basically means that Zcash on high time frames, sorry, I never wasn't ready for any reversal. The trend wasn't reset. That's why we basically knew earlier this year that the first impulse wasn't the true reversal, and that Zcash, at least in my opinion back then, wasn't ready for a true reversal. While now you can see that the structure is completely different. So I would say that I'm personally one of the reasons I trust this recent move much more than the previous one are basically because most of the coins I've been watching, most of the coin I've been monitoring since 2017, 2018, most of them either are dead or either they are all entered 2 weeks to months of reaccumulation, and either they are going to die even more because the previous trend is done, but the next one is going to be an uptrend. Either we are at the really beginning of something bigger than just a few weeks of green. Like even Ethereum is looking absolutely insane on both pairs, for example. So yeah, I would say that structurally the market looks much better, and Ethereum looks much better on both pairs, which is very encouraging for the altcoins. Bitcoin has had an incredible recovery from the March catastrophe, the March Black Swan, and for me the last level that could be some sort of uncertainty for me. Like I'm not the last level that is going to be broken, and if broken, is 1.5k on a weekly basis. If we break that, I basically see no arguments anymore that we are not in a new bull market. This is basically what I call the everybody gets a girlfriend area. So yeah, that's my answer.
At least one girlfriend, but
Yeah,
anyways.
at least.
So, my answer to this question isn't going to be related to altcoins as much. It's going to be more focused on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the hype, and everyone on Twitter is excited. They're doing price targets of 1,000 for Ethereum. I don't really know what people are saying now, but I think how do you know if it's false or not? There's really no way of knowing. Literally none of us could possibly know. I think we could also very easily get swatted down here. I mean, no one seems to take that into consideration. And I think the best thing you can do for yourself is consider every single option and try and stay, I guess, I don't even know how to put it, like mentally balanced maybe between, am I going to actually sell this time if there is a bull run, or am I just going to hold to whatever 3K again? I think it's really extremely important to be I don't know what word I'm trying to use here, but you just have to realize that this can get easily swatted down. Flexible, yeah, thank you. Fluid, yep, thank you. Like water, as Bagsy said. So you just want to be flexible with your trading ideas. You don't want to, I don't want to say get too excited, but that kind of is. Like, you don't really want to get too excited because this thing could get swatted down, like I said. So you just want to keep all of your options open. And you could still make money if Bitcoin goes down. I think people forget about that. Like, you can make money shorting. And I would I mean, obviously 2017 was profitable, 2018, but the last few years have been equally as profitable. I mean, I haven't seen a difference. Obviously, in altcoins, like I'm not going to wake up and have another year of a salary or something like that just from going to sleep with an altcoin. But I mean, Bitcoin's still extremely profitable. We don't necessarily need a bull run, but
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we are still here for not most of us, but I mean, with experience, you should be able to trade this market regardless of. I mean, trading altcoin, as you said, is very contextual and environment dependent a lot based because of Bitcoin. But we've been proving for the last couple of years that you can make money trading shitcoins without Bitcoin bull market. It's obviously easier, in my opinion. Everything is easier when it's going up, at least for most people. But yeah, I would agree with Fixo in the chat. I'm personally cautiously bullish here. I'm bullish because we are in a territory where bulls have been proving to be in control. They have been proving to push whenever they need to push the market. And we basically been in a continuous uptrend since the March Black Swan, but we are still below most important levels, I believe. At least one of the most important level, that is 1.5 to 12k. Above that level, as I was saying, I don't see a lot of resistance above, but this level shouldn't be overlooked, because if you look at the charts for the last couple of years on the weekly charts, we basically had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attempts with last week try to close above 11.5, and we failed all the time. So that's how important the current level is on Bitcoin. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, no,
Yep.
Ethereum looks much better.
So
But
then
yeah.
when you talk about, like, is this actually the time, then you started to get into the FA stuff, like, hey, is Trump really going to let the economy dip? And then it just gets into questions like that. So from a strictly price action standpoint, I think things look good. Obviously, high time frames look good. But, you know, you need to also have a bearish argument in conjunction with your bullish arguments. Let me find another question here. I was thinking about the answer to that question for a while. Do you have another question, Pierre, that you noticed from the chat?
Give me a minute. I think I saw one earlier.
I mean, most of them are just chart requests. Or if you guys have any questions, you could just drop them in the chat now. Something related to trading or anything like that. Welcome to all the people who are joining late, by the way.
Yeah. For the people that, just like Loma, can't go UTC +2. Next time I'll share the different time frames, at least for Loma.
Yeah, can you imagine having such a big portfolio and not able to convert time?
Oh, he's gonna hear that on the video. Oh, that's funny.
Someone asked. Oh yeah, no, he wasn't asking that.
So, if this is the bull market to rival 2017, how would you predict the top when to pull your money out? I mean, when you kind of use words like that and predict and stuff like that, you're kind of going down a slippery slope. You just want to take what comes to you. I mean, it sounds like really stupid or simple. You just really have to see. I mean, anyone can say any price. I could say 50k Bitcoin will be the top, and do I know anything? No, I'm just talking out of my ass. If I put that on Twitter, am I going to be really using anything to support that? Probably not, but it will get a lot of likes. But regardless, no one really knows. You just have to see what happens, monitor high time frame. If we go into price discovery, use fibs. Just do everything exactly the same. Try and sleep. Get, a full night of sleep. And just, it's just like any other day.
Yeah, I agree with that. There will obviously, if we had to keep running and imagine a world where Bitcoin goes back to all-time high, obviously everybody is going to be extremely excited. But at the end of the day, I mean, you shouldn't consider this as a different trade than others. Obviously, we're all here because, I mean, we could be trading absolutely every other market. I'm not saying that scale wise, but in terms of interest. And we're here, so obviously, if Bitcoin goes back to all-time high, we're all going to be happy. But yeah, I don't like making targets. Like, I have absolutely no idea. I just trade the charts and I do my best to ride the trend as long as it lasts. I'll most likely keep the same strategy I have right now, and that I am actually using on shitcoins, and I'll do my best to apply it to Bitcoin. But yeah, just like you, B, I definitely don't believe you should do something different just because Bitcoin is going very high. Uh,
Yep.
I will put my money out when there will be fucking news like everybody's getting extremely rich and you're not, like we had at the end of 2017. And if slash when that happens, I will most likely be balls deep in altcoins because they usually have one last pump because money is flowing off of Bitcoin.
I mean,
But
you should. Sorry, go ahead.
no, that was it.
I was just gonna say you should like always be consistently taking profit. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that's actually pulling money out of the market. I don't know, like every 2 weeks or something like that, 2 or 3 weeks. Like, okay, here's what I do. I have a specific day of the week that I pull profit out of my accounts if I have profit and if I profit for that week. So, let's say it's an account with 1 Bitcoin as an example. At the end of the week, if I gain 0.1 Bitcoin, I pull it out, cash it out, and it's in currency, right? Real currency, not Bitcoin. So I feel like I don't know. Do people not pull money out of the market? Like if I put a poll up on Twitter and said like when was the last time you pulled money out of the market, it would be I don't know, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, something like that. I would be really interested to see, but
Yeah, that would be really
I
cool.
really firmly believe you should be taking profit consistently in this market, regardless of how bullish you may be. I think it's extremely stupid to not take money out of the market. Like, I feel like people are trying their best to forget that in March, like, Bitcoin could have legitimately gone to zero from BitMEX. BitMEX totally
Yeah,
saved Bitcoin from going to literally zero. What was
yeah,
there, like
all
$20
the
million dollars in the on the big side or something like that after it
yeah,
got
it was
slammed?
20 million from 3K to zero.
Yeah. So let's not forget that. Let's consistently take profit. You have to be smart,
Yeah,
and pay yourself because you're not going to be paying your bills in Bitcoin anytime soon. No one really cares about Bitcoin if we're all being real here. People care
yeah,
about whatever currency, wherever you're from. That's what people care about. So take profit. You're not going to be a hero if you hold something and then hold it from the top, and then as it starts going down, start shit talking everyone that has a negative chart or something negative to say about whatever you're holding. Just take profit consistently. There's nothing wrong with taking profit and paying yourself. We all work extremely hard in this market. It's a 24/7 market. It's extremely mentally draining, emotionally draining. So pay yourself and do something with it. Just I don't know, buy
yeah.
something, get dinner, literally anything. But that's my rant for the day. I may have gone off topic there, but yeah. Anyway,
I think
sorry.
it's very interesting, and I agree with you. And it's something for the people that have been following me for quite some time and that were following me in Telegram, for example. It's basically something I was saying every day. Some of my friends wanted to make T-shirts like "Pay Yourself," but because it truly changed everything for me when I started actually paying myself, uh, it keeps your feet on the ground. I don't know if that's an English expression, but that's French at least. Uh, yeah, it helps to keep your head cold, and yeah, I maybe not every 2 weeks like you, but at least I'm taking money out almost every month. That doesn't mean I don't have um an a big exposure to the market. Definitely a bit of a gamble for the future, at least for me. But yeah, I still pay myself every month, and I feel like I don't when I can't because I had a bad month, but yeah, gladly it didn't happen for a while recently. Thank you, bull markets, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. And then people are asking about Zoran saying that he has 99% of his wealth in Bitcoin or net worth. I haven't seen that clip or.
Yeah, it's something he was saying in one of the latest Scott's podcast, and it's also something I was discussing with him.
Really?
There is something you need to understand about that is that Zoran is a whale, and he primarily trades Bitcoin and Ethereum. He knows his shit, and even with the 1% of his net worth that is not in Bitcoin, he can manage things. So he knows what it might sound degenerate from the outside, and for many it is. But if there is one thing that I can actually manage these kinds of gambles, these kinds of bets, it's him. Like, for example, even if he had 99% of his net worth in Bitcoin, in last February, he had a short above 10K that was basically hedging a big portion of his folio.
Yeah.
Despite that, I mean, what I mean is that this is not necessarily the best example to follow because not everybody should be able to do what he does, but he knows exactly what he does. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
It's not just pure bullshit. I don't know what. Yeah, in that case, he knows what he does.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, I didn't hear the clip or watch the interview or whatever, so I can't talk too much about it. But that is definitely not something that most people should do. I think that's extremely risky. But someone like him, doesn't he work for a prop shop too or something like that? I don't know.
I'm not quite sure,
I don't really know too much about him.
He has sideways business developed in the market and things like this. He has multiple sources of income. Anyway, he's a smartass.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. So we went through that question. Let's see. Any good option trades on the stock market? It's interesting that you asked that. I just share literally everything that I do in the market in this group, so I didn't really think anyone would care about my options trade in the stock market. But it seems like I got some pretty decent feedback from that, so I'll just do an extremely brief write-up on options and just my stock market plays because, I mean, it's just it's just the same way you would trade anything else. I would even argue that it could be a little easier in some scenarios. So I'll definitely continue to share that, and I'll put out some educational content about options trading, stock market plays, things like that. And now what we have are basically chart requests, unless I missed something here. I'm just quickly going through the chat. But we have chart requests, which we don't necessarily need to be in voice chat for that. We can just gather those requests and then post them in our respective chart channels.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I will most likely take the lists. I won't be able to do all of them today, but I have an hour in front of me, and I'm going to take most of the chart requests and chart it for the daily updates. So if you guys don't have any question, I just wanted to repeat the fact that this was a first, second AMA of the month, so new members can ask basic question, I would say, but important questions. But we'll try to do this type of EMA on a weekly basis, and even if we are not all the analysts, do it each on our sides. We could have guests if we want. I know people have been enjoying the Zoom call I did with Bagzi the other day. I would love to do it again, or with other friends who are around. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's basically it. We just wanted to do the first.
Oh yeah, there's a question about Bab asking if you have a time stand long on Ethereum and great profits allows room to buy dips and keep current position, but at what point do you say let's close it and open something at much higher price?
That's a really good question. Okay, let me just reread it quickly. Okay, so you have a fat long open at 260 for Ethereum. Perfect. Or current price is what? 400. So let's say you still have that long open. You're in great profit. You haven't taken any profit on the way up. You're buying dips and keeping your current position. At what point do you say, let's close it and open up something at a much higher price? Let's see. Let me unpack that a little bit. So I think your first step to, if you have a, really great position open, is you want to see, high time frame. So I would say you want to go on the 3-day and weekly, and I would say you wouldn't want to go below there. I would say you want to keep to 3-day and weekly. So I personally, I guess I had a trade kind of similar to this. I think I shorted Ethereum from what was it? Maybe 277 or 250 to like $90 or something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but it was a real swing trade, and it took weeks to play out. So basically what I did is I was taking profit at every weekly level. So if I don't really know what chart I have open on my screen right now. It's just an Ethereum 3-day chart. So I could just make a separate video about that and how I managed that trade. But essentially what I did is took profit at each weekly level. So it was a short. So let's say I took profit at, 230. I would only close like 10% of my position depending on the lower time frame reaction. If it was a stronger reaction, I closed maybe 15%. But I would continue to close 10% and then reopen at another, reopen like 5%. So I'd reopen half of the position that I closed after it bounced, and then add on that bounce back. So I was shorting every single bounce on the way down as well. So I don't really know if that answers your question, but that's just how I manage trades like that, where I have a really nice position open. I really think that for situations like that, you really have to monitor high time frame, and you really have to be kind of equal with your thoughts. You can't be overly bullish if it's a long, because that will just totally cloud your judgment, and you won't see any bearish arguments at all. So you want to always have multiple arguments from each side, and then whatever's stronger at that point, then you take that position or something like that. So also another strategy you do is lower your stop loss, or increase it, I guess. Increase your stop loss for longer term trades if it's a long position. So increase it. Again, you don't want to have it too tight to get wicked out, but it's almost as if, let's say, you're thinking, okay, if I were to open another long position right here, where would I place my stop loss, and then work from there, and then kind of adjust your stop loss again so you won't get wicked out, but you're not being too greedy. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question. I don't know.
I think it answers. It's pretty much another question about compounding, because basically asking when to compound, when to exit fully. So yeah, we pretty much answered that in depth earlier with Krillin, in my opinion.
Yeah. And this is being recorded, so if you did happen to miss that, it was the first 20 minutes of the video, so this will be posted. I don't know how long this will take to render, but whenever it's done, I'll post it in the group. And then probably the last question we'll take is, which time frame charts do you use for entering a long-term trade? And I would just say the daily, 3-day, and weekly are my go-tos for real swing trades, not like trades that will be open for a few days, but real swing trades, I stick to daily, 3-day, and weekly.
I definitely agree with that. Personally, using daily to weekly levels, as shared earlier. Yeah, mainly daily. Daily is my favorite time frame for swing trades.
Yeah, same for me. I mostly use a 3D chart as well a lot, because I find moving averages really interesting on that chart. I almost never use a weekly chart. Usually when I do, it's to look for, let's say, accumulation with MFI indicator, or I'm looking for weekly bullish RSI divergences. But I'm sticking to the daily chart, and really what Pierre has explained before with moving averages. So the chart he just posted is also a good example. Is basically you analyze the trend, and we could call it the readiness for reversal. for a coin, you can see that very well thanks to daily moving averages. So where basically the moving averages are flat, or even let's say the shortest one, like daily MA 100, starts to curl up. This is when the chart is ready. So moving averages will be very strong, let's say, readiness indicators. Um, you don't need to go to higher time frames. No, I know some people even use moving averages on larger charts, on higher time frames. Sorry, so that's I don't know if I don't know if she's still even on Twitter, but maybe some of you remember Mandy.
In it for the tech.
Yeah, she was actually
One of
some
the
sort
best.
of moving averages mentor for Pierre and myself, and um, she was really good with hobby coins because using weekly moving averages, she could tell if a coin was ready or not. After discussing more in depth with her, it happens that we were looking at the same thing, simply that we were using different values and different time frames. But you know how, well, for example, a daily moving average 100 is going to be a 12H 50 moving average because it's twice the length, but it's twice the time frame. So, for example, she was using a lot. I don't know, something like weekly MA 30, but actually, if you convert that, uh, moving average 210, and I was using daily moving average 200. So we were actually looking at the same things with different time frames and different moving averages, but it was pretty much the same lines. So I would say, well, if you want to look at macro trends, you can do that on any time frame you're comfortable with. I don't really see a point using. I don't really trade much horizontal levels on high time frames. So it makes no sense for me to use the weekly chart. Um, I guess it really depends on your system.
Yep.
For example,
I would agree.
really price action oriented. Well, guys like Donald or Cred. Um, they will be really good even up to the monthly time frame, which I can't even read at all. But well, based on their system and well, the fact they use a lot horizontal levels, then it can work.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps up this AMA session. Again, if you
Yeah.
missed anything about this AMA, this has all been recorded. It will be posted on YouTube. I'll post the link whenever it's uploaded. I'm not sure how long it will take. But this was another really great time. I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did too. We'll definitely be doing more in the future. If you have any chart requests, just put them in member charts and you could tag me. I'm not sure if any of the other guys will be awake. I know it's kind of late, but you could tag me. I'll try and get through them all from my point of view, and then when these guys wake up, I'm sure they'll take a few requests and share them from their point of view. So I had a great time. I hope you all did too. And if anyone else wants to say anything.
Yeah, that was good. And again, welcome to all the new members. I'm really happy that the Haven family is growing. So that's good. I'm glad to have everyone with us here.
Yeah, same. Exact same. I'll be covering a few daily updates that some people ask us, not daily updates, chat requests. In my daily updates, like 5 or 6 of them. Also because FET is close to our first target. So yeah, I'll cover that, and I'll do a Zoom call either probably earlier next week, and we'll see who's around and who can join. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.